If you plead guilty early, they will say, the court will tell you the cost of saving the state from taking this to trial and going through all this process is a benefit to us. So therefore, it's an economic factor. So if you counterbalance that economic factor with, well, unfortunately, you went to trial, so now we're going to give you extra time in jail at a cost of $150,000 a year per person. You give someone 6 years and then it makes it 10, that's $600,000 extra is cost the state because they're paying for you to keep you in jail.
Welcome to Crimes or Misunderstandings, a true crime podcast where we walk you through the life and times of convicted criminals and hear their stories, tales of redemption, and even the fast track back to prison. Today we're sitting with Gary Rogers, convicted Bikie lawyer. He was a criminal defense lawyer, convicted of conspiring to pervert the course of justice. His
co-accused?
Yeah, the co-accused were accused of torturing, kidnapping. They may or may not have slightly lit some guy on fire. That's up in the air. It's well, Gary, just tell us what were your crimes? What were you confused of?
Confused of? I was accused of confusing nothing.
Hey, we're off to a good start. I promise you, he's not going to get away with this. So go ahead. What happened?
So what happened? The allegation against me was that...
Keep that microphone close to your mouth. You can move it over if you want.
The allegation against me was that I conspired with 3 other people to pervert the course of justice by getting a person who was alleged victim of an assault, kidnapping, and other offences to retract his statement against the co-accused in my conspiracy charge.
Yeah, and you got convicted of it.
And I got convicted of it.
You did 15 months.
15 months, yep.
Keep that mic closer to you can pull that arm closer to your face. There you go. No, we can't hear you at the best of times. I had the misfortune of spending time with Gary. I'm sorry to myself for having to do that time, and I apologize. I don't know if I accept my own apology, but nobody can hear Gary. But now this is the first time I've actually heard his voice because he talks so soft. So he did 15 months in prison. He appealed it to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
And on appeal, it was squashed.
The conviction was, I was acquitted.
You're acquitted. But even though you were acquitted, found not guilty of the crime they had accused you of and spent time in prison for, they removed you from the legal role?
Yep.
Is it?
I got struck off, basically.
Yeah.
The role of lawyers.
And I mean, how does that happen? So they've convicted you wrongly. I mean, this is how you fight to get you. This is the legal system here.
Yep.
And then?
So they convicted me wrongly. I got my conviction overturned and I got acquitted. So that means I'm innocent of the charge. Right?
Yeah.
Which I state out, when you start off, you're innocent to start with.
Yeah.
The jury hears your case. They find you guilty or not guilty. In this case, they found me guilty.
Yeah.
The jury, the judge, and the prosecutor all got it wrong because the Supreme Court held that I wasn't, and they explained why, and it's like part of the reason was the judge, part of the reason was the prosecutor, and obviously the jury took the wrong instructions or the wrong advice from the prosecutor and the judge, convicted me. So they acquitted me. That means essentially
you're innocent of the crime.
Right?
Yeah.
But then the Legal Practice Board, which runs and controls the legal practitioners in WA, first of all, they wrote to me and said no further action were taken.
Yeah.
And this part here we might have to cut out because I don't know if I'm
put this microphone in front of your mouth. Mm-hmm. Pretend it's some of those inmates you paid a visit to in their cell. Pull it further over. Come on,
something stuck in my teeth. Is that Grady?
It's not that hard. Move the micro. Look at this. You see this?
It's like right here, right on top of it.
Yeah, but I can hear you come in and out. Okay. So,
okay.
All right. Go ahead.
So, hold on. Can we edit this? Like, if I say something, cut out, eh?
Well, don't say it if you don't want to say it. You've already been convicted of it. Like, why create extra work? Like, okay, say it. Say it.
No, because I want to say if. Like,
Yeah, we'll see if we can edit it. Come on, but pretend Bubba's in front of you. put that microphone in front of your mouth, man. Come on,
Grady, is that the size of it?
No, you've done bigger. I know. Leave the jokes to me, Gary. We'll leave the law to you. All right, or maybe we won't.
So anyway, I got acquitted,
Yeah.
and the legal practice board wrote to the Supreme Court and said we want to strike him off the roll of practitioners because even though he was acquitted, the reasoning of the Supreme Court still suggested he didn't act appropriately as a lawyer.
But how can they come to this conclusion if you've been found innocent of your charges?
Because the Supreme Court wrote the opinion, and their opinion was that even though the behaviour that I engaged in didn't amount to the crime, it was still not what was expected of a person in a legal profession.
So,
if I was maintaining or upholding the ethics of the legal profession, I wouldn't have gone down that path in the first place at all. I wouldn't even come close to it.
But what path? Like, I mean, you're found innocent, so you either did the crime or it's like, okay, you didn't do the crime, but we don't like your behavior, so you're gone. Sorry, we've convicted you wrongly. Made you spend 15 months of your life in prison, which, according to Gary, was the best 15 months of his life. Was it not stress-free? You loved it there, didn't you?
I don't know about loved it.
But you didn't have a hard time there.
Look, it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
Because you met me and I was ripped off constantly by this guy. It's true what they say about lawyers. They rip you off. He still owes me 9 ice creams. These ice creams, I'm telling you, he ruined my reputation. This little old guy stole from me and told me, I'll just take the beating. I was like, what do you mean I can't beat you? But I tried. And then I said I was.
Miserably.
Yeah. So yes, lawyers do.
Rip you off. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
100%.
Dogs never change their tricks, do they?
Right.
All right. So we can agree that you owe me 9 ice creams.
Well, I'd never admit to that.
All right. So anyway, so you've committed this crime. They said you're innocent of it, but we didn't like your behavior, and we have the right to tell you your behavior is poor enough, so we don't want you practicing law.
That's right. Yep.
Even though you proved us wrong.
Yep. Okay,
so pretty much you were kicked out of the club. That like the fraternity because you just weren't with the cool kids.
That's right, exactly. I didn't suck up.
Yeah, well, so
was it because a lot of your clients were criminals themselves? Did they take that into consideration?
I would say the large percentage of his clients were criminals, considering he's a criminal lawyer. But go ahead.
No, they were all like that. All of my clients were criminals. Well, except for the innocent ones.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of innocent ones, a lot of people that were criminals. And, you know, some got off and some didn't.
Yeah.
So some had to wear the consequences. Some were lucky and got off, even though they might have been.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's the obligation of the law to prove without any doubt that you're guilty, right?
Not without any, just beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond reasonable doubt, yeah.
Right?
So
sometimes they win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's the game you play because they lock a lot of people, like innocent people, up. I know, like I had so many charges that were like bullshit. One of them, I had sold my gym and I had cash for it, and I could prove I had like the negotiation. It's only a small amount of money, but like the negotiation on Facebook, the day and time that I was picking up, it was the day before I got arrested. The exact amount. The time they said they'd pick it up, what car they were going to pick it up with, pictures of what they were buying. And the guy gave a statement to the police, and I pled guilty. And then when they took me for, obtaining stolen properties at the charge? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, possession of all unlawfully obtained property.
Yeah. So anyway, I proved to them. I gave them all the information I had, and they said, "Look, we're gonna give you guilty on everything, but if you want to fight the charges with this, that even though you've given us proof and I shouldn't have been charged for it either, we're going to keep you in maximum security and hold you until we go to trial, or you can just plead guilty, forfeit the money, and then you go to a lower security prison." So I pled guilty to a crime that I could prove without a doubt I was innocent of. So that was on the advice of my lawyer, and that's what I did.
That's not unheard of. People, like in my time, I've had clients who just say, look, I want to get over and done with it. I just plead guilty. And I say, okay, accept the fact that this is what the allegations against you.
Yeah.
And they say, no, I can't accept that because I didn't do it. I said, but then you can't plead guilty. Oh, no, but I just want to get over and done with it. This is like, it's giving me a headache. It's time consuming. I've got to keep coming down to court. Yeah. This is maybe for smaller crimes, but more trivial offences. But they still, people do it all the time. I just say, I just want to get over and done with. Yeah, I mean, so the system's not infallible.
But it's the way that Western Australia, for me, it's kind of ridiculous. And I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. Like a lot of people get accused of like murder or whatever, and they say, hey, look, we'll give you. They could be innocent. And I sat in there with Bikie. He was in there for 2 years. It took a jury of 12 people. I think it was half an hour to find him not guilty, and they wouldn't give him bail. And then was there no compensation for criminals, right? So they're like, sorry, we wrongly accused you of crime. We got it wrong, dead wrong, and everybody saw it within minutes. You're free to go, but there's no compensation for you. The violence that happened to you in prison, sorry, our bad. The relationships you lost, sorry about that. That's just how it works here. It's crazy.
I had a client like that, exactly the same thing, and he went through a first trial, and the trial got aborted. Then they gave him bail on that charge, but he was originally charged with murder, right? Yeah. Never done a thing wrong in his life, had no idea about the system. Yeah. Had to sell his home, lost his partner, get his parents involved, helping him out, trying to fund the money to pay his lawyers. Yeah. Went to the first trial, that got aborted because the prosecution and the police did something, I won't say dodgy because they never do anything dodgy.
Yeah, never.
Right? Never. Ever. They're always up front and above board.
Keep the microphone in front of your mouth for coke.
Anyway, and then he got a retrial. They still retried it, and it was a missing persons case essentially. And he was the last person seen alive. Yeah. I mean, he was the last person to see the person who died alive. Yeah. And his housemate told the police that. Yeah. And in this case, he went through all that. He'd never been to jail in his life, got bashed up in prison. Yep. He couldn't do anything about it because he stuck by the prison code. I fell over in the shower. That's his excuse. Yeah. He got acquitted in like 10 minutes. Yeah. And they said, well, you're free to go. And that was it. That's all he got out at the end of it. Yeah. Like, you're free to go. It's no apology. Yep. No compensation. Sorry for your life that we've just spent 2 years locked up for, 3 years locked up for. Yeah. Zero, zip, zilch. So you're free to go. Yeah. And the way they sentence, that's it. The way they sentence, so what? There's 16 magistrates that sit, right? There's 16 different magistrates that sentence you, right? No. How many different magistrates? So let's just say we're in district court and we're going for sentencing. You wait to get a certain judge because the way that it works. How many different magistrates are there that can sentence you? No. So there's two different levels. I think. Okay. So there's magistrates court, which is a different court system. Yep. That's lower level. Yep. And there would be in WA maybe, I think there might be like 50 magistrates, but they're spread all over the state. Yeah. All right. So it'll be from Kununurra down to Albany. Right. Perth, Joondalup, Rockingham. Mm-hmm. There's a number of them. Some places have got more than one. Yeah. Places like Kununurra only have one. Yeah. There's one in Carafa, one in Port Hedland. Yeah. These are all small towns. For the people in America, like these are just like country towns that like far away from everything. Like Kununurra we're in Western Australia, and it's a 3-day drive to get there. Yeah. So these are like you're talking very small towns. But yeah. And then they got the next step up is the district court level. Yeah. Which is where most criminal trials are held, where it's indictable. Right. So if you understand indictable, it's a more serious charge, and that's where you get a jury. Okay. But you also get sentenced. Those are magistrates that sit in there as well, right? Yeah. So the magistrates only can sentence you on lower charges. Well, I got sentenced in district court, I thought. Yeah, there's a judge. So you would have been sentenced by a judge. There's only one judge sentenced you. The judge who hears the case. Yeah. So if you plead guilty initially, you will get listed before a judge for sentencing only. Yeah. All right? And on that day, that judge might deal with 6 people, 6 different cases. Right. Through one day. That's the number they give them, allot them. All right? Yeah. So they sentence 6 individual people in one day. Yeah. If you go to a trial with a jury and then you lose the trial, like in my case, then you come back at a later date to be sentenced. And it's the same judge who heard your trial because they then try to correlate the facts of what they've heard and the evidence of what they've heard and say that the jury must have found that you acted in this way or you did this. Yeah. You've got no remorse or I'm going to sentence you to this. All right? Yeah. And that's how it works.
Yeah. So there's 50 magistrates that sentence but this is what I found, because in America, we have mandatory sentencing guidelines. Like, if you punch somebody and let's just say they got their jaw broken, you have let's say a minor criminal history, you can get sentenced between like 1 year and 5 years. That's the maximum, the minimum and the maximum. Here in Western Australia, and it's definitely on the state charges. There's no minimum and maximum for any judge can sentence you any different way. I know on my drug charges, I could have gotten 3 years, or I could have gotten 20. Like
okay. So what you got to understand is, like, here in WA, each charge has a set penalty, maximum, a maximum penalty.
Yeah.
Okay. Some smaller convictions for the magistrates' court, they may have a minimum penalty, like a driving offence. You may get a minimum penalty, so it has to be at least this minimum.
Yeah.
But the maximum is this. If you go to district court, it's an indictable offence, which has to go to district court. So that's something like,
let's just say like an ounce of meth.
An ounce of methamphetamine, right? So a drug-related charge,
Yeah.
okay? The maximum penalty now for an ounce or more in WA is life imprisonment.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the maximum penalty. So an ounce, so 28 grams or more. Mm-hmm. So if you've got 27.5 when they weigh it, you're okay. If you've got 28 exactly, the penalty can be life imprisonment.
Wow.
All right, in WA. That's only in WA, not the rest of Australia.
But I know people that have been caught with ounces, and they can get like literally.
No, but that's the maximum penalty, right? So you don't ever get the maximum penalty, because that's always left in WA system and in Australian legal system. The maximum penalty is always left for the worst offence of that type.
Yeah. And
it'd be very rare that you get the person that the court could say, this is the worst ever we're ever going to see, because it may always be one around the corner that's worse. Right. So you never really get the maximum, okay? But if you get caught with varying amounts of drugs, so you could get caught with 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 5 ounces, a ton.
Yeah.
There's no correlation between what you get for 1 ounce. So let's say in WA, for 1 ounce, you might get 3 years or 4 years. Right?
Yeah.
If you've got 5 ounces, you don't get 5 times that.
Yeah.
It doesn't it's not exponential.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've got 1 ounce, you might get 3 years, 4 years, depending on the circumstances, background.
I mean, you get a lot more than that for
if you get 5 ounces, if you get 5 ounces, you might get 8 years.
Right.
So it's not 5 times the 3 or 4. It's not 20 years. It's only like 8 years. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do see what you mean.
So there's no exponentiation.
But what I'm saying is, if everybody waits for, because if you got like a hanging judge and you got a lenient judge, because there's no lawyer that could tell you how more or less how much. Like my lawyer, I could have got as much as 10 years. That like legitimate, and I was thinking 3. I got between 3 and 10. They gave me 6, reduced to 5 because it was during COVID. So. Yeah, but like, there's no. I know one guy. He got caught with, he was a bikie, but he got caught with 7 grams of meth, and they gave him 8 years. But he had like horrific. Yeah. But then I know another guy that's being caught with 1 ounce of meth, and he got like 12 months rehabilitation. You know what I mean? Like it's
okay. Well, that I would find rare. Mm-hmm. Okay, but only recent let's say the last 5 years, they've upped the penalty, because it used to be. The maximum penalty for any amount of illicit drugs, methamphetamine, heroin, whatever, was 20 years, all right? Then in the last 5 years, they changed the law so that 28 grams or more become a life imprisonment. Yeah. But life imprisonment used to be in the Supreme Court, could only hear life imprisonment cases, right? So they had to change that law as well, so that could only be heard in the district court. Yeah. So the Supreme Court now only deals with murder. Mm-hmm. They don't even deal with arsons anymore, and they deal with some Commonwealth legislation, where Commonwealth's a bit different in terms of drug possession.
I mean, I know a guy so I got caught with 12 ounces of cocaine. I mean, that's why I call this crimes or misunderstandings. Mine, I feel, is a misunderstanding, because half the court, like I've said it in my other shows, half the people that were in the court, they're like lawyers and everybody else that was buying drugs from me or had done coke with me. Like doctors do it, lawyers do it, business people. Everybody loves cocaine. I mean, you can't go out at night and not. And what did you call them, Diego? They call them nose beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody likes it. Like it's kind of like alcohol. You know, people want it. So it sucks that it's such a crime. But so I got caught with 12 ounces, and they gave me what would have been a 6 years, but because we did at that time, you know, they were giving you, I think, a year off because we're doing because of COVID. We're doing year prison term inside a prison term, and then and then I know a guy that got caught with 2 kilos in Sydney, and he got 3 years, and that's like a stat like. You know, that's like 4 times.
There's a difference between Sydney and so in Australia, you've got different states, different jurisdictions. There's no similarities.
But who sentences as harshly as Western Australia anywhere in the world?
Well, maybe in America.
I mean, first world, like, you know, like first world nations.
No, in the US they do, because you get people there that get how many 27 life sentences? How can you get 27? You only got 27 lives.
That's when you kill like 27 people. You wouldn't get that for, you know what I mean? You can't. You would never, ever, ever, ever get 6 years for 12 ounces of cocaine anywhere in America. Like, you know, unless you've had like a...
I don't know the answer.
Yeah. So, but
in
WA, it's not even that. It's not that much. Like, in Western Australia, obviously, we're probably one of the most expensive places in the world to buy cocaine. And in America, you get it much cheaper, so the markup's there. But, it's like... It's $5,000 worth of cocaine in America. Here, maybe you get 100 grand for it, you know, so... they're not going to give you 6 years for that.
It's certainly certainly here it's very expensive.
Yeah,
because it's hard to get to. Or it's easy to get drugs in because the coastline is so huge.
Yeah.
They're probably like more than they could ever stop coming in.
Yeah,
but they can charge more. A lot of people here make a lot of money. FIFO people.
Yeah.
And that's the big deal. They got people earning FIFO, all on drugs. All come down. They all want like the short fix because it doesn't stay in the system that long.
Yeah, that's right. They all got money. That's one thing. I've been all over the world. Like I've been to 55 different countries, 1,000 different cities, maybe. And yeah, Perth. Everybody's got a job. You see very, very. I mean, rarely you see like a homeless person in definitely never in the suburbs. A few in the city, but it's not like anywhere else in the world. You know, you get this place is clean. The beach is crystal clear water, white powdery beaches. Everybody makes money. If you want to make money, you make money here. So and everybody has money for drugs. But let's talk about so the guys that committed your crime. I mean, they're pretty atrocious. They've apparently kidnapped a guy that owed them money.
Yep. For drugs.
Yeah, for drugs. They were bashing him. They had kidnapped him, hogtied him. Put him in a warehouse, apparently bashed him, and then lit him on fire.
That's the allegation. I don't know about that part of it. There definitely other parts. They definitely could prove that. The fire one was dubious. They got charged and convicted of that.
Yeah.
But there was evidence to suggest that the fire never happened because
was exaggerated.
It was supposed to have burnt his legs.
Yeah.
They set his jeans on fire with an accelerant petrol or something like that.
Yeah.
Is the allegation.
Yeah.
They later on, after the trial and whatever happened, for their own reasons, they didn't use that evidence.
Yeah.
But the evidence suggested from the fire expert that the jeans weren't even marked.
Yeah.
So if you burnt the legs that the person was wearing, jeans at the time, so you set the jeans on fire to burn the legs, so there's no marks on the jeans. It sounds a bit incredulous that.
Yeah, so but they got convicted of it anyway.
They got convicted of that, and that was the part of that allegation about setting on fire was the one that got them the harshest sentence, the longest sentence.
Yeah. So what happened? So I was reading, and the guy, so they have him hogtied, and they've left him alone long enough, and there's an axe somewhere close to him and he's used the axe to pop off the cable ties.
Yep. That's what they reckon.
Yeah. So. So he pops off the cable ties, gets out of there, he goes running.
Yep, and
straight to the cops.
He bumped into someone in the street, and then they called the cops, and the cops turn up.
Yeah.
So then he's a model citizen, of course, a drug dealer, but a model citizen, and the cops take him under their wing.
Yeah.
And the detectives who gang crime.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why they would be involved with that, but it's gang related apparently.
Yeah.
So they take him under their wing. They give him his personal phone numbers. So that this bloke has apparently got the personal phone number of the gang crime detective sergeant who run this case.
Yeah.
Oh, ring me anytime on my personal number. Don't worry about our, police number.
Yeah, okay.
And they put him in protection, put him out of the way in Melbourne and all that, so he gives evidence.
Yeah.
And then he rocks up for the trial and a promise that, that he won't get charged for his other crimes that he committed.
Yeah.
They hide him out in Melbourne. He continues to commit crimes in Melbourne.
Is he in witness protection?
He's in witness protection, yeah.
Yeah, so like we know one guy, senior Bikie, we were both in prison with him. He had a hard time. He got stage 4 cancer, and he started with a little bump, and they went to biopsy it. And he was actually in the transport to go to the hospital, and there wasn't enough guards, so they brought him back. They never got it biopsied. They waited 5 months, and it turned into the size of a tennis ball. So they took him in, and it turns out to be stage 4 lymphoma. And he had to do, he had a hard time in prison. Like, that guy, he had to do, like, nobody wants to be, like, in the prison hospital. They have it's insane people there that are, like, shitting themselves and, like, being crazy. And then all of a sudden you're fighting chemo, and you've got guys that are shitting next to you. They're shitting themselves next to you. I actually, I know his charges, but I actually quite like that guy. He was a good guy. But then Luke Normitz, he was the other one. What a complete flop that guy was. Like, there's no lower form of life than that scumbag. He gets out of prison, comes out, he's got a kid with a girl, goes to the house, shoots the mother of his child in the head, then lights the house on fire and kills himself and leaves his kid an orphan. That guy is like, I can't see a lower form of life than doing that to a child. I don't know, but that is your client. Those are the people you hang out with.
No, but you got to. You can't. He's somebody mental health issues, a big thing these days, right?
Yeah.
And he went through a lot of shit. Because in my case, right, so the bloke they put in the boot, the victim, they like to call it, right? Hardly. But anyway, they put him in the boot, hog-tied him, bashed him up a bit. He owed the money for drugs, right? Or promised to bring drugs and tried to shortchange him or whatever. Some
the typical standard drug deal.
Standard drug deal, right? Yeah. So he knew the girlfriend of Luke Normitz.
Is this the same one?
The same one. Right?
Okay.
So the conversation between the two of them in the ensuing period was between him and the girlfriend, the victim and the girlfriend, was that he would try to get Luke Normitz out because she had just had a son with him. Yeah. And so as part of this whole process was to get Luke, not the other two, but Luke Normitz off the situation so that he could be a father to her child because he knew her and all that. There was evidence to suggest that and support that theory.
So she was working with the alleged victim.
Yeah, to try and get him out.
Okay, and this is where you got charged.
And that's where I got charged because I met with the alleged victim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he come to see me and he said, look, I want to make a statement. So I said, okay, I'll just write it down, right? I didn't even take him seriously. Yeah. I didn't type it up. I hand wrote it so no one could even read it.
Yeah.
Right? So then he goes out of my office, scurries off to his detective mates that he's got the personal home number for, and gives them a call and says, da-da-da. So they wire him up and send him back in to see me again.
Yeah.
And in the wired up part, I say, look, mate, it's up to you. You do whatever you want to do. I'm not interested. I've got no skin in this game. I don't care. If you want to say something, say it. Don't.
Yeah. Simple
as that.
Yeah.
And he then goes out and he goes to court and lies about what I said and all that sort of stuff. But
so his word, a confirmed drug dealer, an informant against your word, a lawyer that is allegedly abided by the law most of his life, because criminal lawyers never break the law ever.
Well, like anyone else.
Yeah. So,
but that was simply it. And he said things in court that I know to this day, and I can swear 100% that I know he lied.
Yeah. Well,
and like I said to him in the conversation we had, I said, look, people come to court all the time and lie. Yeah. At the end of the day, they walk out. This is how the system works. So you can get convicted or not convicted.
Right.
If you're not convicted, right?
Yeah.
Then that means the jury didn't believe the person who's trying to charge you, so they must have lied. So they can't believe them; they must have lied.
Yeah.
If you get convicted, then they must have believed that person. If you give evidence, they can't believe you, so you must have lied. So someone's lied.
Yeah.
But no one ever gets busted for lying.
Yeah.
People can come along and give evidence, all the time. I can tell you how the system works, but I wouldn't want to do that because people they have got to live by it, and it's an integral part of our society. So you got to have faith in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
you got to have faith in the police.
You have to.
You have faith in the system.
The problem is you don't have faith in. I'll get back to one of those things. Like you could be accused, like that guy that had done 2 years on a murder charge. He could have copped a plea because when you cop a plea, the time is significantly reduced, isn't it? Like if you plea out right now, we'll give you 8 years, even though it's a crime you've never done. But if you take it to trial, you're looking at life.
Yep.
Most people would just say, you know what? I'll just cut my losses and do 8 years on a crime I didn't do. There's no justice in that. They shouldn't add time. They shouldn't add time to you for trying to prove your case is innocent.
So theoretically, if you go to trial and you get convicted, the judge will tell you it's your right to go to trial, but that's your right, and you're not punished for taking it for trial.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, when you get sentenced, the sentence goes from A to M because it's gone that much up higher because you went to trial.
Yeah. They make you pay the price.
You make but you pay the price of going to trial, even though they tell you there's no consequence of you going to trial. It's your entitlement. You're right.
But that's not the case.
That's not the case because you can't. The
but
system.
That is. I've never heard of anybody getting less time than they were promised by going to trial. Have you?
No. And a lot of the things, one of the other bugbears I have about it is that if you plead guilty early, they will say, the court will tell you that the cost of saving the state from taking this to trial and going through all this process is a benefit to us.
Yeah.
So therefore it's an economic factor.
Yeah.
So if you counterbalance that economic factor with, well, unfortunately you went to trial, so now we're going to give you extra time in jail at a cost of $150,000 a year per person. Mm-hmm. You give someone 6 years and then it makes it 10. Mm-hmm. That's 400,000. 4 years at 150.
Yeah,
that's $600,000 extra. It's cost the state because they're paying for you to keep you in jail.
Yeah.
So there's an economic factor of you pleading guilty early because you save the state money. Yeah. But they don't reduce your sentence when you go to jail.
So
they give
punish
you more
for
time.
it. Yeah. And is there a scorecard? Like these prosecutors, like so the police come and they bring, let's say, they have 1,000 charges in a year, and if they prove like 95% of them, they're excellent. But if they're only proving like 50% of the charges, they're all of a sudden not worthy of their position. Is there a scorecard that they look at and say, hey, this guy's not convicting people he should be convicting? Or
well, I could put it this way: there's been a periods of time they have different people that run the Director of Public Prosecution, there's different people who run it, DPP. And there's been periods of times where it's been suggested that everything gets reviewed.
Right.
And if you're not pulling your weight or not, because it looks good for them. It's all the political.
It shows whether you're having innocent civilians arrested on crimes that they didn't convict or that are not provable. But they make it pretty compelling. Even to me, like I pled guilty. I happen to be, I'm one of the very rare ones. I happen to be 100% guilty. My bad. But I won't do it again. I promise.
No, but so they have here in WA especially.
Yeah.
The politicians always come out in their 3-year, 4-year cycle. We're going to be tough on crime. So the people, the public, general public, expect that and love that. It's a well-known fact, right? It's a political spin. Mm-hmm. And so for the DPP, they're supposed to be separate from the politics, which is supposedly the case. Yeah. They really have to comply with the politicians and prove to the politicians that, look, the state is tough on crime. Look at and you see, you're reading the paper all the time where the general public think that the judge, who's completely independent politically, gives a sentence to a certain person. Everyone's up in arms. Oh, that's too lenient. They should be throwing away the key on these people and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you see how much it matters to politicians, and the DPP is only a whipping boy of the politicians. They do what the politicians ask because they've got to get funded by the politicians. Yeah. They've got to get the politicians to approve all these things, change the laws that help them.
Yeah.
And so they work in hand in glove even though they're not supposed to be independent, to, give the politicians what they want, which is tough on crime.
So let's get to your time in prison. And I have to say, me and Gary, he's my good mate. Unfortunately, obviously I had a low amount of people offering to be my mate, so I took Gary. But while he was in there, I mean, you first of all, you look like a pedophile. So people come up to me and they're like, "Why are you hanging out with this guy?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" That's a straight. I said, "What are you talking about?" I go, "He's a lawyer." They're like, "Oh, he's a lawyer? You mean he's not a pedophile?" I said, "I don't know. He still might be a pedophile, but he's at least, but we know he's a lawyer, but he's not, well, as far as I know, he's not. Better not be, but no, he's not. He's not. He's dirty red, but you became instant celebrity. You became a standover man where you could just think you could rob your mates of their ice creams. You have now embarked, I don't know if you had this, but I have to say, Gary is one of the smartest guys I ever met. I was reading all these books and they had like a lot of like 5-letter words that I didn't know what they meant, maybe longer. So I'd highlight them. Yeah, 4-lettered words. But man, this guy has the dictionary memorized. I'm telling you, he's a very, very intelligent guy. So what do intelligent guys do in prison? Well, they studied the horses. So this guy, he read books that were like this thick and watched horse racing all day long and gave legal advice.
No, legal advice.
I've seen him. I'll testify to it.
Help people along the way.
He was charging them for it. They were putting money in his account.
Ice creams. Ice cream. I had a big ice cream bun.
Those 9 ice creams cost me 6 months. But yeah, no, so you had a good time there. Literally, there was fewer prisoners that were less popular than you. I know I was less popular than you. I was a lot more funny, but some
to people, look at, everyone was laughing. Trust me.
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Hey, James, we've got also an innocent bystander. Pull up the microphone. So we've found what's supposed to be like a normal citizen in here, and he watched the episode the other day where we had Clarky, the guy that on accident broke his friend out of prison. He's like, he's telling Mitch, he's like, "I've got to come and see this live," and I can't. He might be an upstanding citizen, but he's a straight weirdo. So, what do you think about these shows?
I think they're fantastic.
Yeah,
I think they give us insight.
Yeah,
the average person would never know.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Like, if you were going to prison, what would you ask Gary? What? So you're getting ready to go and say, "Let's do 5 years."
So I look kind of like him. So I've been in as much trouble.
Hopefully, you'd probably be worse because you're not a lawyer. Like, as soon as he was a lawyer, this guy, like, they would bring him like ribeye steaks and like homemade beer or whatever. But
one question I have: were any of your previous clients in there with you?
Yeah, lots.
And did they hold a grudge against you because they were sentenced to too much, or
no? They loved him. He was in prison with the guys that his co-conspirators. They love him.
Oh, okay.
They love it. Like this
co-conspirators. Lots of people I'd had convicted before.
They liked you because they didn't have to pay you.
Well, yeah. No, supposedly they paid me at the time. I don't think it was very much. That's probably why they got convicted.
Yeah, yeah. I did have a cellmate named Benny. And this guy's like, "Gary Rogers," because I got transferred. Gary, it was talking trash and ended up getting me stabbed by. So they had to they tried to remove my molar with a pick. It just happened to go through my jaw first. But thanks, Gary, for that entertainment. So anyway, they switched me prisons, and I go in there. This guy's like, he's like, "Gary Rogers." He goes, "He was your cellmate." He goes, "That guy's a hell of a lawyer." I said, "Are you serious?" I go, "Because he's not a hell of a friend." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I don't think he ever charged me." And I said, "This makes sense now." But yeah, you knew his whole family, didn't you? Did you know his mom?
Yeah, I know his mum.
How well?
No, not that well. She wasn't a criminal. I knew him and I knew his brother.
Definitely criminals.
His brother was like a long-standing. Yeah, he was a member of a bikie gang or whatever.
Yeah.
But a good bloke, genuinely.
Right.
And
so
it's like I said when I went to first prison I went to. Like as soon as I got there, I got these letters from other prison people in the prison saying, oh, you need to come somewhere, come to our unit, come to our unit, come to our unit. Well, you'll be right. Don't worry, just come to our unit.
Yeah, they love. They
love
you.
Like the prison guards are going like, this is like 12 letters on the first day you get there.
Yeah.
And already get letters because they can only write to you. They can't ring you like that.
That's another line. None of his clients could write.
That's true. Well, that's true. It was kind of like it was like your writing. You know what I mean? You had to sort of make up the letters, big letters, eh? So maybe the 12 letters was actually just 12 letters. A, B, C, D. 12 times. But you know, I had to make the words up out of the 12, mix it around a bit.
Yeah, this is the truth, James. You know, all of his clients, their ABCs ended at C.
Yeah, but the American Z, the one at the end.
So all right. So, do you want to ask Gary about his bootlegging career in prison? I mean, I don't want to incriminate the guy, but do you want to ask him about like the alcohol? So we won't try to incriminate Gary on any more of these crimes that he'll have to get acquitted of down the line, but. But there's quite a bit of homebrew going on in there. Yeah, like there's a good time to be had in prison. You know, you just
one of my former clients used to do it all.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Ricky.
Oh yeah.
He was one of my. It's like his family. So one of my clients in there, right? So we used to have visits on the weekend.
Yeah.
And his mum and dad used to come and visit him. And then when they'd come and visit him, they'd come over and talk to me. And, oh, hey, so I knew, like, I used to go to his house and talk to his parents. And, like, you know, when I was representing their son, I used to go to their house. People were like, oh, because that was part of the reason why I got in trouble. They said, oh, you went to someone's house. You don't do that. I said, I go to people's houses all the time. I've been to lots of my clients' houses. And
it shows you have a more like a personal like connection with him. Like I would feel more confident if I knew a lawyer was coming that actually cared about me. Not one was like
just giving
$2,000 for an adjournment, and I reckon I suggest that we get 4 more adjournments after that at $2,000 a pop. I'm like, okay.
And that's how they represent you.
Yeah,
that's what they do. It's all about fun. It's about money.
So
like his parents used to come and talk to me in their visits. So they're supposed to be visiting their son to come and talk to me because they knew me. Like, you know, what do you know? And lots of people like that.
Yeah. So no, but Gary, like, just by looking at you, you'd have a terrible time. they would rob you for sure.
I know it.
But you know what you need to do because they're not smart enough. You just got you got to tell them you're a doctor or a lawyer.
I used to be a chemist.
I
can make whatever you want.
No. You know what? You're top 1 tier. You're top tier celebrity. If you're a chemist, man, you would be fine in there. You'd probably be enhancing that homebrew that they made would actually have some flavor to it.
Especially if you could adjust the methadone a bit.
Oh man, yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. There's lots of like.
Yeah, if the little Suboxone subbies. They have these they have these orange things they give to like heroin addicts to get off heroin.
Yeah.
They cut those things. They cost, I don't know what they cost, like $35 for like 7 of them. And you're supposed to put like 1 under your tongue a day or something, or 2 under your tongue a day. One of those things, they'll chop it into 20 pieces. And then you'll go see, and then you can either like make it liquid and snort it, or the other guys, you can tell when they've come in because there's just a line. And I've never seen anybody inject drugs until I went to the prison. And it was unbelievable. One right after another, they melt it down, suck it into a spoon, bang, into the next guy, same needle, same spoon, bang, same needle, same spoon, bang. And I'm talking like 20, 30 of them down the line in a row with the same needle.
They all want to get it, don't they? They all want it.
Yeah.
Very popular.
Yeah, needle, if you could get like a syringe in there, and the syringe was like cut like super small, like that long, and it's $500 for a single syringe if you can get it in prison. $500 and they pay it on the outside. That's what it's worth. And those subby strips that you're supposed to take one of, you cut them, and they're worth. If you cut them into 20 pieces, you get 20 pieces. You get $60 a piece for them. So $1,200. $1,200 for something that you're paying like $5 for, on the outside. And there's guys in there. There's guys in there that go to prison just to make money. Just to make money. Yeah, you always see them getting arrested on the visits. They get taken off in handcuffs because the handshake wasn't smooth enough or whatever. And then
there's a lot of drugs in there.
Yeah,
people think there's not. There's drugs in there everywhere.
Yeah, there's
to get into.
Some people aren't very good at concealing Man, you could, these guys, they bashed it. Hey, they bashed, remember that guy? He deserved to get bashed because he was just a dickhead anyway, that big fat guy. But some method, yeah, he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. I forgot his name, but I'd like to, he had actually killed a young Aboriginal girl in a car accident. And then he was like arrogant in there. And anyway, some meth had gotten through, and in minimum security, you're not locked out. So you can literally, you're supposed to be in your cell at 11 o'clock, but they have like 15 guys hanging out for like 48 hours straight without going to their cell. And anyway, they all get drug tested and busted. The next day, they're beating the shit out of the fat guy for snitching on him, hitting him with sticks and knocking the shit out of him. I don't know that he snitched on him, but I definitely appreciated the ass whooping they gave him. That guy was, oh man, like he was just a piece of junk. Like he was like an arrogant prick, like rude.
Yeah, you got to toe the line when you're there. It's not like just fit in, try to fit in. Don't try to be something. Don't try to be better than them because you're not. No one's better than anyone. You're all in there for a reason, so you're not better than anyone.
That's not true. I was better than everybody in darts, and you know it.
So you reckon?
The whole prison, James. So in minimum security, which is crazy, they give you darts. Like it's like a point. Like I got stabbed with they made the thing they stabbed me with was like a giant paintbrush handle that the guy had apparently sharpened for like 24 hours just so he could get it through my jugular. But he doesn't know. I wasn't born. I was forged in steel. My veins are made of Kevlar. They're bulletproof.
See, the problem was the bloke who stabbed him was a native. And they haven't developed that much. They hadn't heard of steel and stuff. They're still using wooden sticks. And that's why they sharpen the wooden stick. He could have gone and bought a packet of darts and just threw a dart at him. A steel one. Yeah, but he sharpened the stick instead. It took him like 2 years. Roll it in the fire, sharpen up and put him more in the fire.
Hey, the guy that did stab me too, he was about 4'8". I'm 16. I think he must have jumped off of something to get all the way up to my jaw. He missed my jugular by like that much.
There's a big head. He could have missed it.
Big target. That's all right. Some people get angry with me for beating Gary up in prison, and I did. I used to train in boxing. It's funny. We were boxing. I just look at him one time. I have the boxing gloves on. I look at him and I go, bap! And I hit him in the head. He's like, it's like he just got floated in cold water. I said, you ever been punched in the face before? He goes, no. And this is when he got confident. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm sitting there and I turn around. He comes from behind the pole and bang! Sucker punches me. I'm like, are you for real? And then I had to be careful with this guy. Every time I turn my back on him, is this not true or not? Did you ever king hit me?
No.
Yeah, you
no, what happened? So tell the true story.
This is the truth.
Right? The true story is, he's like 12'7" or whatever he is. 250 kilos. So he says, come on, I'll take you on. So when I hit him and he got stunned, he said, no one's ever hit me like that before from out of nowhere. He couldn't believe it, how quick I was.
From out of nowhere, it's from behind my back.
I was so quick, he couldn't believe my speed.
This is, I'm not kidding. So now we're going to get to the fun stuff. So we're in prison.
Now we're talking.
This is a true story. So what happened was, I like Gary, I got red lighted for yelling at pedophiles in full-time education. I was like a couple of maggots. Actually, he defended one of them.
Yeah, one of them was mild class. A couple of them, they were mild class.
Yeah. So he defended one of them, but they're talking. One of them was like, "You should have seen how big my penis was with that little boy's head." And I said, "What'd you say, you fucking maggot?" And then I went off on him. And then the lady comes in with all the security. She's like, "What's going on?" I said, "These fucking piece of shit pedophiles are talking about the kids they fucking molested. Yada yada yada." Next day, I come in there and they're like, "We're firing you." I said, fire me for what? You know what they fired me for? I had a letter. That's not a letter. For not fitting in. I was like, hold on a second. I just heard this guy, 2 convicted child molesters, talking about molesting children, and I don't need to hear that. And I'm telling you right now, I have 2 children. I would love to have just gone in there with a couple of hammers and fixed their skull, but and then they kicked me out. So then they put me. Nobody would hire. In Carnet, they had they have a unit where it's just filled with pedophiles, but they give them all the best jobs. They give them
librarians,
watching the gym, full-time education, art class, and then they give the regular people they working in an arbitrage slaughterhouse, and if something needs to be done there. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you didn't get a job right in the library right off the bat. just from the way you look. But but anyway, so I like gay. I was like, you know what? After he's beat me up so many times, I buy, and you only get spins like once a week, which is like your commissary. You get $60. An ice cream was like $2. So, I'm giving him a big portion of my pay. So I buy him an ice cream for
protection, right? He needs protection, so he's paying me an ice cream, right? Yeah. This is the true story.
Oh, really? Yeah, because he's protected. Yeah, so I buy week one, and we used to play tennis all the time together, right? And prison's kind of small. Week one, I buy him an ice cream. I was like, week two, and it's hot, and there's like no air conditioner. I said, week two, he's not offering to buy me an ice cream, so I'll buy him another one just in case, too. But week three, you want another ice cream? He's like, sure I do. I was like, this prick, man. I get to week 9, and he still hasn't offered me an ice cream. So I tell him, I said, hey, Dick, I said, let me tell you something right now. You're half my size and at least 5 times my age. Then I didn't know they made him that old anymore. I said, if you don't show up to spins, and spins is from like 1 or like from 12:30 to 1, it's 30 minutes, and buy me an ice cream, I'm gonna whoop your ass. This is no bullshit. So the whole prison knows about it. I'm saying, I'm sitting there.
Guess you told the whole prison.
Yeah, I told the whole prison about my dog.
On the newsletter. Then he got his pedophile mates to the library to write.
I said, that's it. I said, if this prick doesn't buy me my ice cream this week, I'm going to whoop his ass. So I'm sitting there. It's 12:30. Okay, I got there early. I was like, there's no way he got here before me because he's never. 12:45. I'm like, where's this prick? He's old. He's probably walking slow. 12:55. No Gary. 1 o'clock they close, and I was like, oh, this motherfucker. I go, where's Gary? Anybody seen Gary? And they're all like, he's playing tennis. I was like, what? So I go over there, and he sees me, and he goes, oh. And he throws down his tennis racket and bolts out the backside of the tennis courts. So I was chased after this 90-year-old man.
They couldn't catch me for quids.
It didn't. I'll tell you what, there was smoke coming off his feet. All I saw was a blur. I was like, I finally caught up with him about 3 Ks away.
I told you I moved fast, too fast for him.
So I spear tackle him as you would. I spear tackle him, I have him on the ground, and I'm giving him a couple shots, like baby shots in the leg. He's elderly Aboriginal, like, Grady, come on, man. You've got to let him up now. I said, I'm not letting this prick up. There's no bullshit. And you know what? And I said, you're paying me my ice cream next week. And I go, next week is 10. And you know what he tells me? He goes, I'll just take the beating.
That's not true. Because even to this day, he still reckons I have 9 ice creams.
You owe me 9 ice creams.
And he never lets me forget it. That's his biggest thing.
But you don't even want to hear how cheap this guy is. I'm not even bullshitting. So I've waited 48 years to have my 48th birthday, and I invite 5 people to it. He's one of them. First of all, I was surprised. He brought me a gift. He brought me this nice bottle of wine. You know what he did with that bottle of wine? He drank it.
What are you supposed to do?
He's like, here's your birthday present. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did, thanks.
Yeah. Was it a good bottle at least?
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad I could help you out with it. I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah, but
I did. It was great. I enjoyed every minute of it. Gary, I thought it'd be wasted on you.
Yeah.
Gary, when it comes to legal aid, there's I don't know if it's a conspiracy or whatever, but legal aid take cases, and it's something that I've always wanted to know is that when it goes to the trial, a lot of these legal aids pull out. Is that a thing because on their record they don't want a loss?
No. Okay, look. So this is just a very broad generalisation.
Yeah. Because a lot of people get legal aid.
Most people for criminal case get legal aid, right? Because
yes.
no one can afford a lawyer's fees because they want to charge you
an arm and a leg.
All right, say an arm and leg. Right? So for my case, they wanted like $200,000, right?
Mm.
And most people for a 3 or 4 day trial want $50,000. Most lawyers, if you pay privately, right?
Yeah.
Ask Grady what he paid. He would have paid a lot, right?
Yeah, I don't even remember. I can't count that high. My ABC's ended at C, so
a lot of people then apply for legal aid, which because it's criminal and there's serious charges, you'll get automatically given $1,000 of aid. So they'll provide you with a lawyer, Not so. Most lawyers work not for legal aid, but they'll take on legal aid cases. They work in their own private business, take on legal aid cases, right? So they get assigned a case, and they will get paid X amount of money for it. If you get the trial, obviously it gets more. If you plead early, you get less. And a lot of lawyers whinge about how much they get because it's never enough. It'll never be enough. But if you did a 5-day trial under legal aid, you probably make 10 grand for the whole process, right, from start to finish. So a week trial, 5 days in court. I think the going rate it's gone up now, but it used to be $1,200 a day. So that's what, 6 grand for a week.
What, $1,200 a day? Man, I
For the lawyer.
Yeah, my family court. I just had like it was probably 3/4 of a day. She charged me $3 grand.
Yeah, and that's legal. That's legal aid rates of $1,200. It used to be $1,200, maybe more than that.
I
now,
think
right?
it's crazy.
Might be $1,500. So there's a whole range of people that qualify to be lawyers representing people in legal aid cases. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of them maybe shouldn't be. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the mindset. They don't have they've been practicing long enough, but they have like rules where you've got to be admitted for 3 years, but that doesn't mean much, or 5 years to do certain cases. So those people then take the case and then it might be a bit out of their depth, or the case is that shit. They take it to trial, get listed for trial, then roll over the day before because they know they haven't got a strong case.
Yeah.
So it'll be like that. That's how they'll work it.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot. And, you know, you always hear clients that say, I had a legal aid lawyer and things like that. So a lot of people are charged. And it's not necessarily true. There are some good legal aid lawyers. There's some that aren't so good. But all the people that get appointed legal aid lawyers, certainly when they lose, they all say, I should have got a real lawyer. That's not an uncommon saying amongst criminals who get convicted. They say they should have got a real lawyer because they get left with legal aid.
Yeah.
So
that's what lawyers. What do they usually tell them? I should have got a real criminal because good criminals don't get caught.
That's right. But that's a big thing in the profession, and because it's so little money, people don't want to do it, or it's not really that bad money. It just depends on how you want to live your life. So.
But why do these legal aid lawyers wait until the last minute and then the day before they're like, all right, I'll pull out and then you get another lawyer tomorrow that doesn't know anything about the case?
Well, that certainly wouldn't. If in the district court and you file your paperwork to get your matter sent to trial, or a person's matter sent to trial, you as the lawyer can't just back out. You have to have a conflict with your client. The court won't let you off the register. Okay? So if you fill out the paperwork saying you're representing Mr. A or Miss B, and you get to the point where the trial's about to start, and then you go before a judge and say, oh no, I've got to recuse myself because I don't feel like doing it, or something like that, they will say, no, you can't do that. The only way they'll let you off, so even if your client hasn't been coming to see you very much or things like that, they'll still make you carry on. The only way you generally can get out of it is if your client tells you something and you tell your client something, the cold hard facts that, well, if you're saying that, you've got to plead guilty, your client says I'm not pleading guilty, then you can say, well, look, I've got a conflict with my client, I can't represent him, they'll let you off. Then they'll just adjourn the trial. They won't make it go on tomorrow. I've seen over the time where judges have threatened to make people self-represent, which you can do, legally you can do, but it's very rare they would do because of the implications of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people do represent themselves, not very well and not a good thing to do because it's always complicated and it's harder to do it. Certainly if you were charged with a sex offence or...
Hold on, let me butt in for a second. You know who we should bring him to is Dom Calabria's case. So Dom Calabria is the guy that's in for murder. We had him on our show, and his son is like trying to raise money for an appeal. So this guy, Andrew Tran, has a kidnapped him and tortured him on 3 different occasions. You probably know who he is. And then he went to his house. He opened the door, hit him in the face, and started robbing him. Calabria then hits him over the head with a tow ball and effectively ends up stabbing him to death and turns himself in. But first he had mental disorder, and he was on meth, and he was supposed to have a forensic. I guess he was supposed to. You're not supposed to take. Dom's one of those guys too. He's like, I was like, man, he's like your size but rounder. I'm like, hey, can you bench press 400 kilos? He'd be like, yeah, I can bench 400 kilos. So he goes into the police high on meth, and from what I understand, he's admitted to killing the guy plus a bunch of crimes he didn't, because they befriended him. So he's admitted to a bunch of crimes he didn't commit. But they took his statement without a forensic psychiatrist and under the influence, and they used that statement. They also changed trans offense to trespasses as opposed to home invasion. And I guess that changed it went from manslaughter to murder when that happens. Is that right? I think that's what his son was telling us. I don't know if that's how it works, but he ended up representing himself to the Supreme Court, and he got there and threw it out. So I guess now there's the High Court. Is that next? If
he appeals and he loses the appeal in the Supreme Court, then you can apply to the High Court, but you've got to get special leave, which is like you have to have a very good case for them to even think about it. If you don't get special leave, you won't get near the front door.
So, but what is the law about them like taking? So the son is convinced that you cannot take confession or a statement while the guy, the alleged perpetrator, is under the influence.
Okay, so what happens is that when the police interview you, they're supposed to ask you if you had taken any drugs or alcohol if you're under the influence.
Right.
All right? Mm-hmm. And it's all recorded, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So very general.
But who's going to admit to that?
Well, people do sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? The police also have an obligation to make an assessment of you. So, if they pulled you over for driving because you're weaving all over the road.
Yeah.
And they make an assessment and say, oh, this bloke's stone cold sober, when clearly, he's reeking of alcohol.
Right.
And the evidence suggests that the bloke's been in the pub for the last 2 days before that.
His name's
They might
Gary.
have got away with it, right? Yeah. But ordinarily speaking, they will say, if you had anything to drink or any drugs, and, if you're okay, do you feel okay? And if the person says, yeah, I'm okay, then they just carry on, and there's no problem. If you say I'm okay, that's okay.
So then his confession is admissible, even though it turns out he was under the
Look,
influence.
I mean, that's a generalisation. I'd have to see
the case. Well, we've actually had him on the podcast.
I'd have to actually see the video record of interview to make a determination whether you could argue it. Okay?
Yeah, and then apparently there was supposed to be a forensic psychiatrist, and that wasn't approved to him. And then they didn't take him. They took him to the Watchtower, but they didn't take him to Hague. They took him to Greylands mental hospital for 6 months instead of if he was of sound mind. It seems like they would take him to to a remand prison.
What happens, and when you plead, you can say you're unfit to plead because you're unsound mind.
Yeah.
And there's lots of case law on that about how you achieve that. Okay?
Yeah.
So then they make an assessment of you as to whether you're unsound at the time, and if they say you're unsound because you were drunk and off your face on drugs all the time, then that's self-induced psychosis, and so you can't use that as a fitness to plea argument.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You have to have medical condition. Yeah. So like schizophrenia, for example.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That is something medically proven to say that you're of unsound mind, and the schizophrenia caused you to commit the offence.
Yeah.
If you've just been a dope smoker for the last 20 years and you've got psychosis from smoking dope, then that's your problem because you took the drugs, you knew what was going on.
And I could understand that,
and then that's how that works.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. So, as I said before, while you were in prison, you read dictionaries and you watched the horses, and now your new career, from how I take it, is I talk to you quite regularly, unfortunately. I don't, like I said, if anybody wants to be my friend, I'm available. I'm looking to replace my only friend. But so you've been traveling all the Asian countries doing horse races. Yeah, you go. What do you do with the horse races? Like, are you a gambler? Are you a commentator? What do? You make predictions?
So recently I've been to Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, purely to go to horse racing. So I went to the Singapore Gold Cup.
What do you say to horse racing?
Yeah.
Sorry. I could tell.
So I went to the Singapore Gold Cup, which is the last race in Singapore ever.
Yeah.
And it's been going there for 180 years.
Yeah, that's where you just came back from.
Right. So I went there. Then I went to the Japan Cup, which is one of the biggest races internationally. Yeah. 90,000 people. And really good horses from all over the world go there to compete.
How much is, so like, compared to Melbourne Cup, like, what do they pay huge money over there?
Huge.
Like, what do they pay? So what does Melbourne Cup pay? Pay $5 million?
Melbourne, I think the total prize pool for Melbourne Cup, roughly speaking, is about $5 million.
Total cup?
Yeah.
I thought that was for just a winner.
Cup. No. So I think the winner gets 3, but I could be wrong. It's around that, right?
Yeah.
There's bigger races. So the Everest is the biggest race in Australia. That's 15 million.
No, okay.
Prize pool. So the winner might get 10 and the others get 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. In Japan, it was like $3.5 million for the winner.
Yeah.
But you get good horses from Hong Kong, Japan, America, Europe, and Australia go to that race.
What about like the Middle East? I mean, they're paying huge money for boxing now. Like guys that would be making 20 grand here. Like I just had a friend fight over there and made 1.2 million. Like and don't they pay big money?
They've got so the biggest races in the Middle East now are in Dubai.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff now is moving to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Where the biggest tennis is going now, the boxing's going to Saudi Arabia.
Golf.
All that stuff. Golf, right?
Yep.
Horse racing's in Dubai, in the Emirates.
Yep.
And they've got some good races there. And it's, again, international. So they're at the right time. There's different times of the year. So you can move around. You can go to the Cox Plate, for example, here.
Yep.
You can then go from the Cox Plate into Hong Kong, into Japan. And then you can go like in June, July, you can go where it's colder in Dubai, you go to their racing season. You can even go to the States.
Yeah.
There's even jockeys here to go and ride in the Breeders' Cup in America.
Yep.
And they take horses from here, they take horses from Europe, everywhere to the United States for the Triple Crown.
Yeah. So what are you doing though? Are you gambling yourself? Are you giving advice? I mean, what are you doing?
Well, I just do the form and then invest.
Yeah, you invest. So
invest.
What you do is not gambling; it's investing.
Yeah, I invest. That's right.
That's cool. And then, are you going to do a sports? Are you going to do a sports podcast with us? You told us before you want to do like a horse racing podcast. You know, we're going to facilitate it for you because I already know. I know I'm in danger if I don't. So like, we'll make sure we'll make sure I don't end up on the wrong end of the stick.
Well,
but
we could always do so. Say if they did let's say in May.
Yeah.
Right, they go to Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
You could do something like that. We could do something on that.
But no. Let's do like a weekly one and let's see your predictions. Let's put your money where your mouth is and see if you're any good at what you're talking about.
Well,
What was that show where they with Matthew McConaughey and was it Al Pacino where there's like he was like a university quarterback that got injured, but he could pick the winners, and it was not Moneyball. What's it called? You know that movie that I'm talking about? Anyway, yeah, he makes a predict. He would like guess the majority of winners every week, and he worked for like a sports bet team, and then they tracked the winners. And I'd like to. Diego's looking that up, but I'd like to.
Sahara? Is that Sahara?
Nah. It's here, look it up. Right, but it's Yeah, I want to put Gary to the test and see how good this dude is. I want to do a weekly horse racing podcast with Gary and see how his predictions do.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know that what I do. As I say, it's more investment than gambling because I don't bet on every race.
Mm-hmm.
I pick my races. I only bet the place. All right, so I don't pick winners.
Yeah, well,
I take a field and I say, look, here's a horse. I'll bet it's a better place because it's even money for a place. So it's not even the best odds in the world.
Yeah.
So if you're gambling, you might want to say bet on a 30-1 because you think, oh yeah, I like the name.
Yeah.
Or you see professional punters that go on the thing, and you get the Ladbrokes app. You'll see people with 10 grand on a horse, right, to win, and it's odds on look on. If it's a short price odds on favourite, I don't ever bet them because that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
because 9% of the time the odds on favourites lose.
Yeah. Especially like Melbourne Cup, like Kentucky. The Melbourne Cup is so long. It's like that's the hardest race. If you ever want to bet a long shot, bet it on that.
Yeah, because you've got a big field and you've got a long race.
Yeah.
So there's like what they have 22 horses. I think 24 horses in the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah.
So you got 24 to choose from.
Yeah. And they're
And
all...
they're only first 3 placings. So you get 1 out of 24 to win.
Yeah.
Over 3,200 metres, a lot of things can happen in that.
And there isn't any other races that are 3,200 meters, are
Oh,
there?
well, there are other cups, like the Sydney Cup,
Yeah.
which is the Sydney version of Melbourne Cup, but lesser known.
Yeah.
It's 3,200 metres.
Yeah.
They have races in England that go for 4.5,
Yeah.
4,500 metres. And there's even
oh,
one.
yeah, yes, it knows.
There's one in Warrnambool, it's quite famous. It's called the Jericho.
Yeah.
And that's a 4,500 metre race, but it's kind of like.
That's a different kind of horse though, because you're going from like human perspective, like a sprinter's body now to a marathon kind of.
Yeah.
So you're going like these, like I'm just assuming they'd be skinny and.
Well, they're not skinny. They're horses that run the longer distances and
Lean.
more bigger and fatter and slower because they got they'll last a lot longer.
So they're bigger.
Right? Yeah, because they're going to last a lot longer.
Well, welcome. Oh, yeah, I guess okay.
Right, so if you're doing a short distance in horse racing, you remember like horse is 500 kilos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're carrying 500 kilos over 1,200 metres.
Yeah.
Which is 6 furlongs.
Yeah.
Those who don't measure it in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they would do that in 1:09.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing 3,200 metres, you're still weighing probably the best part of 5.5, 600 kilos.
Yeah.
You're doing that in 3 minutes 30 over 3,200 metres.
Yeah. That's a long race.
And it's a long race, and the Jericho I was talking about is 4,500 metres.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like not on a standard course, it's a one-off event, but it's like a flat race, not hurdles,
Yeah.
and it's 4,500 metres.
Yeah. So that movie that I was talking about is called Two for the Money, and that's he turned like pretty interesting. I'd like to do Two for the Money, and I'll go head to head against you. We're like who could win, like who could make the. I have to start studying it. That'll take
But
me.
look, yeah, because they've got names there with words, and the words are a bit long. So, and look,
I deserve it at this point, probably. But
you could pick a big. I mean, now it's winter time. It's not something. Summertime now.
Yeah.
So the horse races that most of the horses are having a holiday like everyone else, right?
Yeah.
So most of the horse races you do over the Christmas period. They get mostly apprentice jockeys on because everyone else.
Well, that's
is
what
on holiday.
I bet the jockey bet like.
And but you're apprentices, right? They're mostly apprentices now. The horses aren't the highest quality horses because it's the summertime, the ground's really hard.
Yeah.
You probably wait till autumn. There's some big race meetings then, Sydney, the Carnival in Sydney, Autumn Carnival. You got a couple of big races in Melbourne around then. If you focus on a big race day where there's money to be made, you get, because they've even got a thing now where you've got like a world pool. So it's run from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And races in Melbourne or Sydney will be put into the world pool. So the people in Hong Kong and that can actually join the bet and raise the pool that you can make a money out of, right? So your odds are coming from so if you bet on the TAB, what happens is if they get, let's say simplistically, $10,000 goes into the pool on bets, your division, your prize is a portion of that depending on the number of people who bet on that race, right? That outcome.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So your odds are fixed by the people.
Yeah.
So if they got the world pool that comes from Hong Kong, where lots of Chinese gamblers, lots of money, you get a bigger pool, so your dividends, payout's going to be better.
Yeah.
Right? You get better odds.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
Yeah, and it's just like so. I mean, it's an Australian pastime. You go to the pub for a pub and a punt here, and you can see like you can buy. Like you go and buy a quinella or trifecta, and but depending on how much you bet, it shows what percentage of the pool you're going to get. And it's funny, you can get like 6,000% of the pool.
And the pool is a fact on how many people actually bet in that race.
Yeah. So, but yeah, exactly like you say. So the Asians, I mean, they love their gambling, and they've got a lot of people in their country. A lot of people bet, so the pools get huge, and so obviously you make more money off a smaller percentage over there than you do over here on a larger percentage. So yeah, all right. But anyway, we'll wrap this up because Diago's he's Brazilian and he's violent, man. He's got like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. And, anyway, I'm sick of getting beat up around this place between Gary and Diago. Next thing you know, James will be stomping on my head. Anyway, but yeah. So. Thanks for coming to the show, Gary. I mean, you didn't really have a choice, but yeah, if you guys like this show, hit the like and subscribe button. We're out of here.